So you're here to learn how to start prepping as an idiot. Here's what we're gonna cover in this video. What is prepping? We're gonna cover where to start. We're also gonna cover what to buy first, and we're also gonna cover practicing. Now, it's important to note that this video assumes zero skill. If you have no idea where to start, you're a little overwhelmed, that's okay. So are we. Prepping is like creating your own personal lifeboat, except instead of avoiding icebergs, you're actually avoiding natural disasters or just generally uncomfortable situations. Basically, think of it like this. It's the art of turning "oh no" into "no problem, I got you covered." And it's actually a lot simpler than you think, because it's basically like packing for a long weekend at your in-laws, or that's a good place to start at least. But emergencies won't happen to us. We're safe where we are. I personally got displaced by the High Park fire in Colorado. And the water treatment plant by my apartment did have an issue and forced us to be evacuated. Okay, I guess emergencies are a little bit more common. That's actually where we're gonna start. It's also important to note that you don't need to break the bank to start prepping. We're gonna focus on two things in this video. One, what is going to get the most use to you on a day-to-day or month-by-month basis? And secondly, what emergencies are you most likely to encounter? Right now, go ahead and take out a pen and paper, text on your phone to yourself, whatever you do. Write out a list of potential things. Now, if you're having a hard time coming up with some things, don't worry, that's pretty normal. Your dumb neighbor Tom trying to put out a grease fire with water, again, for the third time and causing an entire evacuation of your building. Or if you live in the woods, forest fires are a pretty natural part of the ecosystem. We recommend starting with a go bag. Now, what's a go bag? A go bag is, simply put, the ultimate leave the house in a hurry kit. This is what you're gonna grab when you need to disappear as quick as a cookie in a kindergarten classroom. That's fast. This should be packed with all of the essentials that you need to get by on a day-to-day basis for about 72 hours. That's the general rule of thumb. These things are usually put together for less than $200, but can sometimes be a little bit more than that based off some of the things that you may or may not need. The idea is to prep for something that may actually happen, not necessarily the end of the world. Start small and grow big. So where do you start? Well, let's start with the thing that can get you killed the quickest, a lack of water. Where we suggest starting is making sure that you have about a gallon of water with this bug out bag. Now, it's also important to note, what we like to do is we keep a gallon of water in a plastic jug next to our bug out bag. And every single one of our bug out bags has a water bladder in it. Now, when we go to grab our bug out bag, we'll grab the gallon of water, we'll grab the bug out bag. They will be in the exact same place, and then as soon as we can, that gallon of water goes into the water bladder. That gallon of water will keep you good for quite a while, and you can ration it. The nice part about making sure that your bug out bag has a water bladder in it is that you don't have to carry extra things on the side. It's also kind of important to note that all of our bug out bags also have one of the Nalgene style water bottles. Do you like that? Have the Nalgene style water bottles just because sometimes you need something that dirty water can be in, so you're not contaminating your clean water. Level 2 for this is getting something like a life straw or a filter system so that you can replenish your water when you're on the go. That's level 2. The next one is food. We highly suggest that when you start to build out your bug out bag, your goal is 72 hours, okay? That's 9 meals. However, starting with 3 meals for just a day is perfectly acceptable. Our favorite things are Cliff Bars, as well as non-perishable or backpacking foods. This is where your freeze dryer will come in extreme handy because you can actually make your own freeze drying food. The next important thing is first aid supplies. When shit hits the fan, stuff like ibuprofen or BC powder, which is basically just Excedrin and caffeine, are incredibly important. Things that are also incredibly important in this bug out bag that I've actually used, Benadryl. Benadryl is good for puppers and for people. Benadryl literally can be the difference between someone dying in civilization and someone living. It's also important to note that when you're doing your medications, look at what you have to take on a day-to-day basis. Let's say you're on antidepressants. you need to have 72 hours worth of those antidepressants living in this bag. Now, heaven forbid, Joe downstairs tries to put out that grease fire with water again, you get evacuated, and now you're coming down off of your antidepressant medication. This situation just went from bad to terrible. And one of the things that most people are probably gonna forget is a change of clothes. Now, it's important to have a change of clothes in your bug out bag. Maybe you stepped in a big puddle on your way to work. It's a good thing you have a change of socks in this. One of the easiest ways to make sure that you get a full change of clothes in here is when you're donating clothes to Goodwill, take that old shirt that's still probably good but you don't wear it anymore and put it in here. Make sure that you have everything from a light jacket all the way down to extra pairs of socks and underwear, because you never know what the weather is going to be like. Basically, as you go about your day-to-day life, think about all of the things that you use and you touch, and if you didn't have that, how much would life suck? If the answer is life would suck quite a bit without that item, put it in your bug out bag. Toothbrush and toothpaste. Did you think about putting that in your go bag? I bet you didn't, because I didn't. That's not in my go bag right now, and it will be. So this is extra credit. This is just gonna be a quick list of gear that I think that everyone should carry. These are things that I've been really happy to have that other people have needed. A Leatherman, a multi-tool, a throwaway pocket knife that you're not sad about breaking, a ridiculously bright flashlight, a micro ratchet, matches, a knife sharpening stone, gum, 15 foot or more of paracable, and lastly, a battery bank. Some more bonus items that aren't necessarily gear-based are a map of the local area, some good boots, because if shit actually hits the fan, do you know how much broken glass there's going to be on the ground? And lastly, a tarp for shelter. That one is kind of here or there depending on where you live. Not gonna be super helpful if you're in the city, might be the difference between life or death if you're on the precipice of the city or a little bit more into the backwoods. Awesome, good for you. You have now decided to go to Walmart, spend $200 on a bug out bag and get yourself prepared. Now, having something and knowing how to use it are two different things. They are. Luckily, gaining the next thing is free, and that next thing is learning. Now, plan regular drills, go out and go camping, go out and do the things that you want to do. Let's say you watched my video and then you watched someone else's video and you said, yeah, you know, I think I am gonna add a tarp to my kit. If you get out there, do you know how hard it is to set up a tarp? It's surprisingly difficult. So go out and practice with the tools that you think are necessary. This is the Silky Big Boy. It's a Japanese pull saw. That means you don't push, you pull. You'd think I wouldn't have to explain that, but I did to my buddy. Now, I'm always a big proponent of buying cheap or mid-tier and using it. Use it, abuse it, break it. Make a promise to yourself that when you break it, you're allowed to buy something a little bit nicer. Because by the time you break it, you're gonna understand how to use it. You're gonna understand what to do. This is not my first handsaw. I busted the blade on my first handsaw. And that handsaw was from Walmart and 12 bucks. Now, if you're single and sufficient, great, you can stop here. But if you're not, let's say you have kids, let's say you have a dog, you need to make sure that they have a bug out bag and they are actually taken care of. How terrible would you feel if there was a forest fire in your area and you had to grab your go bag and leave because you're being evacuated by the nice firemen and they don't have food, they don't have a change of clothes, but you do? That's not cool. Make sure everyone in your household is taken care of. Now you know what to put into that first backpack. Now the next time something unfortunate happens, your car breaks down or you get evacuated from your building, you're not gonna be super sad. And when you go over to your friend's house, you're not gonna have to beg them for an extra pair of underwear, because that'd be gross, but I'd rather have my friend's clean underwear than my 3-day-old underwear. Remember, food, water, clothing, medication. Those are the big things that you need to be sure that you have. We're the Survivor Idiots. We firmly believe in failing forward, and we will show you our shortcomings every step of the way. If you'd like to see the Walmart bag that I demoed here, we have that video.